Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a little project to share with you today. I'm going to be covering this pocket Bible. This is the Journal of the Word New Testament. And you can see here, it's kind of almost like an interleaved where it has a page that's blank in between. So basically all the text is on the left and the pages on the right are blank. And so you can take your notes or journal in there. And so I'm going to be covering this. I did not get one of the pocket Bibles this month that matched the kit for Authentic Faith from Bythewell4god, but I did get this fabric with my kit. And so I want to use this fabric, and I've had this Journal of the Word New Testament sitting in my stash for a while. I got it at a retreat, and I just felt like this would be the perfect time to use up some of this fabric. Normally, I use the fabric on the journal that I create, but because I went a different way with that this month, I have this fabric, and so I thought I would go ahead and use it for this Bible. So now, if you are wanting the one that matches the kit, there's still some of those in stock at By the Well. You can pick your own colorway. There's also an amazing Tim Holtz one in there. There's actually 4 different colorways that you can get of those normal pocket Bibles that come with all the journaling cards and all of those things that you've seen me cover a bunch of times here on my channel. But this is just a very different version of this Bible. And there are some of these actually in the shop as well. If you're interested, if you have some fabric that you want to use and you want to cover a Bible, you can certainly do that. Obviously, this won't have the cards and the stickers and whatever, so everything that I put in here will be something that I make, which is totally fine as well. So I'm just measuring. You saw me cut down this piece of fabric, trying to figure out the best way to cut it down so I'd have the best leftovers. And then I need to deal with this elastic band on the back. So I'm just pulling it as, gently as I can. And I was hoping that it would just kind of release from the back, but it didn't. So I ended up just using my scissors and then trimming it right close to the cover. And then whatever little piece kind of shrunk back up underneath the cover. And so it was totally fine. You probably could have actually gone in on the other side and cut it out, but I didn't really think that was going to be necessary. I am taking my Tim Holtz little sander tool here and just giving a light coat over this Bible. I don't know that this was necessary, but this Bible is a little bit different than the other ones that I've covered simply because it's a hardback one, and it's also got a little bit of a shine to it. And so I just wanted to make sure that my glue was going to adhere really well. And then something happened in the binding of this book. So they, whenever they printed it, there was just a little bit of paper that got kind of folded wrong. So I'm just trimming that off on the edge. It didn't affect any of the pages really or anything. It was just that little corner that was folded. But you can see now I'm just going to go through this process the same way that I always do. I'm going to dry fit the fabric. But one thing that I am doing when I am doing this is I'm making sure to press that spine flat because of the way that the spine is and has that little divot in the front and the back. I just want to make sure that my fabric is going to be able to kind of go down into that divot and not pull on there. So every time that I'm laying it flat, I'm making sure to like push it nice and flat. And you'll see kind of what I mean when I start gluing this. I'm going to be using cocoina glue. This is a paste that is based, has like an almond scent to it. It smells really nice. It's very sticky though. Just fair warning, I usually keep a baby wipe next to me when I'm doing this. Just because I get glue everywhere, and it has a couple of really interesting benefits to it. So you can see just really quickly, I am making sure to get that glue stick down into that little gutter kind of section as well. And then I'm going to put my clip on here so that it just holds it. And I'm going to work my way around the Bible in the same way that I do all of these. I'm going to make sure that I'm, pushing that fabric down into that little, divot right there so that it adheres really well. And that's the good thing about cocoina is that you do have a little bit of working time with it, but at the same time, it grabs on pretty quickly. So you don't have to worry about it kind of sliding around on you, but it's also not going to dry completely before you're ready to. So if you needed to pull something back up, you could certainly do that. And then I always leave it to dry after the fact as well. So I'm just going to kind of do this in sections. I'm working now on the spine piece, and then again in that little divot section, just making sure to push that fabric down in there. I don't want it to pull away from that and then have a gap. And so that's why I find it easiest to work in sections doing it this way. And I'm only putting the glue on the cover. I'll come around and wrap that in, around in a second, but I'm just putting that on there, making sure to smooth it down. I did have to kind of keep smoothing some of the wrinkles out because it would pull out of the little gutter part, and then I'd have to push it back down in there. And so you can see me doing that multiple times through this video. And then I'm going to come around and sort of trim the corners of this fabric, just so there's not so much bulk at the corners when I go to wrap it. And then I am also going to cut the little triangles at the beginning and the end of each of the text block at the top and the bottom of this fabric. It's just going to help me be able to wrap it around easier, so that the fabric around the text block doesn't really like bunch up. So you can kind of see, I was off camera just a little bit there. I kept pulling the Bible down closer to me, so I'm sorry, but you can kind of see there where I cut those triangles out. So I'm going to, again, at this point I was going to start wrapping it, and then I realized, I have this other fabric that came with in this package of the 3 different fabrics, and it would be just fun to have this nice contrast around the spine. But this, this journaling Bible is not very big. I think it's like 3 inches across. It's, very tall and skinny and narrow. And so I didn't want it to kind of overpower. So it's basically just going to be really just around the spine section. I did tear it down to fit, and then I'm going to go through the same process. I'm adding the cocoina across the spine first, and then I'll work in sections, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to make sure that glue stick gets down into that divot there on both sides, and then use this to glue down this little, just kind of an accent piece. You could even add a closure if you want, a ribbon or something like that if you wanted to. I'm not really worried about this one getting quite as bulky as my other ones do, simply because I have the journaling space in the actual Bible. I don't know that I'll be adding a ton of like cards to it. I'm sure it will still get bulky, but probably not as bad as some of my little pocket Bibles have gotten. But so I don't really know that I need a closure at this point. But anyway, so now that I have that on the spine, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this fabric around to the inside. So I'm starting on this long side at the back, and then where the corner is, because it's kind of a rounded corner, I'm going to sort of pleat this. So I'm adding some glue there, and you'll see I'm just going to take my fingers and I'm going to pleat that. This is why I always have a baby wipe, because I get so sticky. And then I pleat it again and then pull it over and glue it down. And then here's where I realized I needed to also trim off the little triangle pieces from the teal fabric, but this kind of allows you to see what those little triangles sort of look like there. So I'm now just going to come through and cut out those little sections of this fabric as well, because again, I want this to be able to, wrap around the text block easier. So did that with the front and back, and then now I'm going to go around and add a little bit of adhesive on that spine piece, and then I'm going to put these little clips on here to hold everything in place while I am working. So again, I'm going to put the glue on there. I had a little string I needed to trim. I'm going to pleat this around, and then I'll add just a little bit of extra glue right there, and then just kind of wrap it and just kind of keep working around the corner, and then a little bit more glue there on that spine piece and some more clips, and then I'll do that same exact process to the other side of the cover. You can kind of see I'm finishing that up here, and then adding a little clip, and then I will get my very fancy paper clip here, and I'm going to add a little bit of glue to these spine pieces, and it's honestly probably not even necessary because the book will hold it closed, the Bible will hold it closed, but if you kind of push the covers back on themselves, it will open up the spine enough that you can really get that fabric to just slide right in there. I'm just using the paper clip there and making sure it's nice and smooth in there so that it doesn't affect the opening of the spine, and then do that to the top and the bottom. And now everything is closed. Now, obviously, I have this fabric that's wrapped around. Now, when you get the Pocket Bible kits from Bythewell, they have end papers that are already in there. But obviously, since I'm doing this a different way, I need to create my own. So what I'm going to do is use a couple of the pattern papers that released with Authentic Faith, the kit. And I picked out a couple of them that I thought would be coordinating pretty well for the inside. I wanted something that was still that kind of mixed media look, but just not as vibrant as the cover. But you could use anything. You could use just a plain color cardstock if you wanted to. And then I'm just folding this. I did trim this down to fit, and then I realized I folded it the wrong direction. And of course, the Bible pages are rounded, and so I need to try to mimic that as much as possible. You could certainly glue this down and just use your scissors and whatever, but I have this corner punch and I can get it pretty close. It's not exact, but it's close enough. And so I'm just going to round the corners on this paper before I glue it down, and it will cover it pretty well. I mean, like I said, you could go around and snip it with your scissors, but I really don't even think it's quite that obvious anyway, unless you're just kind of looking for it. But anyway, I am going to add a piece of deli paper here just to protect the text of the Bible. I don't want to get glue all over it while I'm doing this part. So I always like to work on the inner page first. I just find it works a little bit easier for me to do that. So I'm going to add glue all along here and making sure to get it all the way down into the gutter. And then I'm going to line up the paper, kind of tuck it down into the gutter, and then I'm going to line up the edges here at the corner. You can have, it has a little bit of slide to it with this glue, so you can kind of wiggle it into place how you need. And then again, putting that deli paper in there so I don't make a huge mess. I'm going to add glue to the other side of what is going to be my end paper, just making sure to get really good coverage so that this stays down. And then I'll kind of use my fingers and sort of tuck down into the spine there, or into the gutter, and then push everything down onto the cover. And then I'm going to use my little clips just to hold everything in place, again, especially on those bulky areas like the corners and where that extra layer of fabric is, just until it is, you know, nice and secure. And then I'm going to take those clips off and I will do the exact same thing to the other side. So if you didn't want to add those, like I said, or you only wanted to do it on one side, you could certainly do that. You don't have to do it on both. I just like it on both. So in terms of, like, you know, if you didn't want to cover up that presentation page or whatever, you could certainly leave that open. But this is kind of how it looks now that it is finished. You can see my little end papers here covered up all of those edges of that fabric really well, and this is it. So if you liked this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and until next time, bye.